let's head straight down to the paddock and Matt Suckling.
Down here with James Rogers from the MX5 Cup. James, here at Silverstone this weekend. We understand so far this year it's been pretty much 4th place, but that was broken last time at Anglesey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd picked up the nickname 4th, which was going down really well. But no, thankfully managed to break that particular duck last time out at Anglesey with a 3rd, so it was going in the right direction. So yeah, that relieves a bit of pressure, to be honest. So we can forget about that now and sort of hopefully look further up the grid. That's the plan anyway.
It has been a consistent season for you, as we know, with those 4th places. Here at Silverstone this weekend, how do you think the pace is going?
Qualifying just then felt pretty good. But I think realistically the top guys will have been using sort of a bit of bump drafting to assist each other. Certainly down the Hanger Straight makes quite a big difference. I didn't have that aid, unfortunately. I found myself a bit isolated, so I think I'm going to be a little bit off certainly the top 3, but perhaps just behind pretty much where I've been all season, I suppose, hopefully.
27 cars on the grid for the first of 2 races today for the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. Brian Chandler and James Blake Baldwin are on the front row of the grid. Ben Short and James Rogers on row 2 as the race gets underway. Down towards Abbey they go for the first time then, and it's Brian Chandler that leads the way unbeaten in the last 7 races in the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup, but the rivalries have been renewed here because James Blake Baldwin out for the first time in the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup, but we've seen him out over many years in other forms of Mazda MX5 racing. An extra very tough competitor for Brian Chandler to have to try and deal with. Number 72 and 147 therefore they're making a little bit of contact. That was Ben Tuck with number 72, which was Matthew Short, the father of Ben, who's a bit further up the grid. On board we go with James Blake Baldwin in the tow created by Brian Chandler. A little bit of a love tap there possibly as the cars go on another one, maybe as they went along the Hanger Straight down towards the Stowe corner for the first time. Into the right hander at Stowe they now go. So it's the purple car of Chandler that's ahead, and that looks like Jason Greatrex in the white and red car in the thick of a battle further back. And go on board with Chandler down towards Vale. Through the left-hand part of this complex, and now the right at Club Corner, and he's got James Blake Baldwin, number 48, and Ben Short right behind him as well in number 4. Onto the international pit straight they go. Already the top 3 making a bit of a break as we thought they might. But it's James Rogers and Scott Leach level pegging in 4th and 5th position, and everyone else is trying to be 6th or so it seems. We'll try and pick up who is in that spot in just a moment's time. It might well be Gary Hufford in the 45 car, then Jason Greatrex going through. 62 is Chris Lovett, 91 is Jack Sycamore. There's a dust cloud that someone has created and a change of lead. James Blake Baldwin goes through. Where's Brian Chandler off to? He rejoins the circuit down in 3rd position, and all of a sudden he's got a lot of time to make up on the 2 leaders. Looks like they've changed around as well. Oh, one contact, number 77 and 82. 82 is the youngster Ollie Pidgley who's come across from Clio's. 77 is Grant Williamson now with a badly stoved in bonnet. Someone else getting involved as well, I could see in the aftermath of all of that, but it looked like we've got a change of lead as well further up. And yes, we have down at Vale. It's Ben Short, number 4, that now has the lead of the race from James Blake Baldwin. But how far back's Brian Chandler? He's got a lot of work to do, hasn't he? There he is in 3rd position, having rejoined the circuit after that off. And if he's going to make it 8 wins out of 8, then he's got his work cut out. The first 2 Mazda 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup wins of the season went to Will Blackwell Chambers at Donington Park. He's had podium finishes at Brands Hatch as well this season, but hasn't been out for the last few rounds. He's not here at Silverstone this weekend, for example. As Ben Short has right behind him James Blake Baldwin, I should say. And those two are going to get alongside, I think, as they head down towards the link for the 3rd time. Here's Brian Chandler, desperately playing catch up. Onto the Hanger Straight he goes. In a sense, he already has caught up some of that gap. Along the Hanger Straight now, just adjusting that rear view mirror. Not sure there's anyone too close in behind him. So James Blake Baldwin, the black car with the orange stripes, the white car, the red wheels there for Ben Short, but now the purple car of Brian Chandler back with them. Still James Rogers there in his favoured 4th position, which he has had in, I think, 7 out of the 9 races that we've had so far in the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. Side by side for the lead of the race though, Short and Blake Baldwin, and now Chandler has very much got himself back into contention. Well, that didn't take long, did it? I thought he'd struggled to continue this winning streak of his in the MX5 Cup, but he's right back in there now, behind Short. It's been these two that have disputed the top 2 positions for the last 5 races. Short's had his chances to win, but he's not necessarily taken them. Brian Chandler has prevailed every time. One from Haverhill. Blake Baldwin there next up in number 48, and Ben Short number 4 from Warminster. Here's Jack Sycamore. Now Jack was up inside the top 6 on 2 occasions in the last meeting at Anglesey. Losing out there is number 47. 47 of course being Stephen Craggs. On board we go once again with Blake Baldwin, who loses the lead now. So Brian Chandler gets back in front on the run now down towards Vale. Past the pit lane entrance they go. Short trying to get up into 2nd place as well under braking for the left-hander. That's going to put him on the outside line for the double apex right-hander at Club Corner, but nevertheless he's got through. So it's Chandler, Short and Blake Baldwin now. It's really all about these 3 drivers, this 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. It's James Rogers there in 4th, Scott Leach is 5th, it looks like Gary Hufford still 6th, and Jason Greatrex in 7th position. His brother Chris got the better of him in one of the 2 races at Castle Combe earlier on in the year. And Scott Leach though in the Camp Farm Pet Shops entry, ran from Bedworth near to Coventry. All 3 cars, it seems to me, they're running over the white lines at the extremities of the circuit. I'm sure that would have been noted by the officials. Now coming back at Sycamore now is that number 47 car of Stephen Craggs from Ripon, and Sycamore is in number 91, local driver from Milton Keynes. No doubt he's got a few fans here to watch him this weekend. Craggs outbrakes himself at Village, and he's going to let Chris Lovett through as well. I think there's a bit of a swipe as Lovett went through, and that has caused a spin for 47 Stephen Craggs. He loses several places, including to that number 63 car as well, which is Nick Ledoyen. Oh, it's side by side, or virtually side by side. Lovett trying right, then left of Jack Sycamore down into Stowe Corner. Very close racing indeed, as it always is in MX5 action. On to the final lap go the leaders, and it's Chandler, Blake Baldwin and Short, but you can be virtually assured that they're not going to finish in that order. I'm sure there's going to be some more swapping and changing before this race is done. Sycamore comes through the final corner now with Lovett behind him. These 2 disputing 9th and 10th positions. And next up looked to be Alan Robson, I think, in the number 78 car, the series coordinator, as Sycamore manages to assert his 9th position over number 62 Chris Lovett there into Abbey. Down to Village they go. On the outside is Lovett, on the inside of the circuit is Sycamore, taking relatively late apex to the corner. This is number 78 Alan Robson that's joining in the fun as well. Can he break up into the top 10 on this final lap? Oh, and it's side by side into Vale, and it's Ben Short that's gone through, and Ben Short is going to defeat Brian Chandler for the first time in a race that Brian Chandler's competed in. Surely you all know, because Chandler fights back now as they come out of Club Corner, and Chandler's done it. Over the line they go, a 10th of a second between them, that was all, and Brian Chandler makes it 8 wins out of 8 in the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. It's the 10th race of the season. Will Blackwell Chambers won the first 2, but Brian Chandler has won the rest, and in that case it was very much against the odds. He won by exactly a 10th of a second from Ben Short, with James Blake Baldwin early another 1700ths back in 3rd place. Scott Leach got into 4th ahead of James Rogers, who took 5th. Blake Baldwin got consolation for his 3rd place with the fastest lap. Well, the second race of the weekend for the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. The grid determined by the finishing order for race 1. If it's anything like race 1, we are in for a real treat. 13 minutes plus 1 lap is the journey. The lights go out and away we go. All 27 cars taking the start of this second race, and it's a good start there by Ben Short from the inside of the front row. But Chandler from pole position tries to swoop around the outside of him. There's number 72, Matthew Short. That's side by side, I think, with Alan Robson. We can see Nick Ledoyen going through there in number 63 as well. The leaders are side by side into Village Corner. Everybody's side by side further back. Fantastic first lap action from the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. Number 10 you can see going through there. The white car was Stuart Mackay. He heads down towards the link and onto the hanger straight for the first time then, and look at this, it's 3 cars side by side, and getting involved as well is James Rogers here in the silver car. Now he's the man who's been 4th all season, but oh no, what's that, something going on there I think down into Stoke Corner. We'll try and pick up on that in a moment, but it is Brian Chandler that leads the way then from Ben Short in 2nd. In 3rd place it is James Rogers. Oh, and going wide there, very wide at Stoke Corner is Chris Lovett, who finished 10th in the early, or 9th I should say, in the early race. Now this is what happened between Ben Short and James Rogers, and the arm of Ben Short comes out of the cockpit. He just folds in the mirror of James Rogers there. All in good humour, I'm sure, but not the cleverest thing I've ever seen done on a racetrack. Down into the left-hand Vale, and it's Short on the inside line. Blake Baldwin there in 2nd and Chandler 3rd, and it's the same 3 protagonists, isn't it, as we had in the earlier race. Can Brian Chandler be denied this time? Side by side as they go across the line. On to the final lap of the race then. And it's Blake Baldwin with the inside line for the right-hander. The man in 3rd place is the man who's won the last 8 races. That's Brian Chandler, number 76. Can he get past 2 cars on the final lap? If anyone can, Chandler can. Down towards the right-hander hairpin at Village. It's still Short that's ahead though, with Blake Baldwin there in 2nd and Chandler 3rd. They've eked out an advantage over James Rogers and Jason Greatrex in 4th and 5th. So a brief glimpse there of number 39, which is Ben Hansey. So who's it going to be? Short or Blake Baldwin or Chandler? Looks like Greatrex there in 4th place at the moment. It's a 3-car fight for the lead. It's a 3-car fight for 4th position as well. It's difficult to know where to look here on this final lap of the race. Chandler trying to take the deep line into Stoke Corner. Can he go around the outside of both of the 2 leaders? He's going to have a go, isn't he? And this could put him in good stead for an inside line down into Vale. It's certainly the white car that's ahead though of Ben Short. Down into Vale they come then for the final time. It's Short leading, Chandler on the inside. He gets 2nd place away from James Blake Baldwin. Meanwhile in the background it looked like James Rogers had taken 4th place away from Scott Leach and as well, and Jason Greatrex, but it's going to be Ben Short that comes through to take the win. Checkered flag goes out, and would you believe it, Brian Chandler has been beaten in a 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup race. He's 2nd with Blake Baldwin 3rd. 4th goes the way of James Rogers back into his normal position then. 5th to Jason Greatrex, 6th to Scott Leach, and then 7th to Jack Sycamore then. He was also involved in a 3-car fight with Sam Gendy and Daniel Stewart, and completing the top 10 there just by a fraction of a second is Ben Tuck. So Ben Short took the win by just under 4/10 of a second from Brian Chandler, who was 1900ths of a second back in 3rd place. Some tight gaps behind though, 11/100ths Rogers to Greatrex, and Tuck to Robinson was just 1/100th of a second.
Ben Short, you're our 2nd winner of the day for the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. That one, again, you had to work very hard for it. Of course, Brian Chandler won the first one. This one's yours.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, working hard for it, blimey, it's an understatement. I was really pushing then. That's everything I've got. And just someone had to put a stop to Brian's reign. I mean, I think he's won every time he's been in the car so far this year. So it's about time that someone put him back in his place after all.